News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. The U.S. launched airstrikes on Iran, part of a bombing campaign President Trump says will continue until Iran stops attacking ships in the Strait of Hormuz, where the U.S. has reimposed a blockade against Iran's ports. Retired Marine Lieutenant General Robert Walsh of Academy Security says the conflict has reached a more dangerous phase.
Trump really was trying to get to a deal, and now that's all broken down. Now he's escalating the U.S. reaction to this. And I think the challenge really right now, which makes it more risky, is there really is no signs that the negotiation is going to start.
Retired Marine Lieutenant General Robert Walsh of Academy Securities on Bloomberg surveillance. Trump told Fox News last night more U.S. strikes against Iran would come over the next 2 days and that bridges and power plants could also be targeted by next week. Oil prices are moving higher, WTI topping $79 a barrel and Brent crude near $85 a barrel. Turning now to Capitol Hill, Fed Chair Kevin Warsh today answered questions from the Senate Banking Committee, including about his vice chair for supervision, Michelle Bowman. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren wanted to know if Warsh talked with Bowman about her reported attendance at a Bank of America dinner hours after participating in the central bank's policy meeting.
Did you ask her about the secret meeting that took place?
I wasn't at the meeting. I don't know the facts.
No one,
but I'd be very interested in the
fact-finding
being done by an independent inspector general.
Did you care enough to ask, how can you be chair and not ask your own vice chair whether or not she violated the blackout period, violated the law?
Fed Chair Warsh also said President Trump has not tried to interfere with the central bank.
I just don't want to be in the business of sharing discussions that the president and I have. Okay. I will tell you what I've said to the president repeatedly and said to the Treasury Secretary. They chose an independent guy to do an independent job, and that's exactly what I plan on doing.
Warsh stated Trump has not tried to influence the conduct of monetary policy and that he would continue to do his job if Trump tried. Testifying at his confirmation hearing as Attorney General, Todd Blanche reiterated the fund created by President Trump's lawsuit against the IRS has been canceled. Republican Senator John Cornyn brought up the suspicion that it could be revived.
The President of the United States has not agreed in writing to delete the weaponization fund, and there's no guarantee that he might raise that issue by way of a lawsuit in the future.
There's no fund. That's the standard language that we use when we enter into settlements. I suppose they could bring a lawsuit and then we would litigate it.
The so-called weaponization fund was part of a settlement to resolve a lawsuit Trump filed against the IRS, which also gave Trump and his allies immunity from past tax audits. U.S. producer price inflation came in tamer than expected, its lowest reading since last April. PPI down 0.3% for the month. Leave out food and energy, and it's up 0.2%. Still lower than anticipated. Bloomberg's Michael McKee.
So that leaves the year-over-year numbers at this point. Final demand headline 5.5. That's down a full percentage point from last month's 6.5. The food and energy core 4.7 down from 4.9.
Bloomberg's Mike McKee. That PPI data driving stocks and bonds higher. We check markets for you all day long here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 little changed on the upside. NASDAQ about 0.1% higher. The Dow about 0.1% higher. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.54% and the 2-year yield at 4.13%. The Philadelphia Semiconductor Index is more than 4% lower now, led by Micron, which is down 9.5%. SpaceX shares fell to their lowest level since that company went public, breaking below the $135 per share level that it sold them to investors last month. The stock has been subject to volatility, surging nearly 50% over the first 3 days of trading and then losing nearly a quarter of its value over the next 3 sessions. SpaceX shares right now 1.5% lower. Anthropic is looking to meet with investors in the coming weeks as they plan their IPO. The company is considering an IPO as soon as October. Moving forward would push Anthropic ahead of rival OpenAI. Sources tell Bloomberg deliberations are ongoing and details, including timing, could all still change. Morgan Stanley stock traders set another quarterly record with $6.3 billion from equity trading, a 69% jump from its previous all-time high. Morgan Stanley CEO Ted Pick says their standards are high for any acquisitions.
As we've learned through hard-fought integration success, strategic rationale and cultural fit continue to be threshold criteria for any inorganic opportunity, even before we consider transaction terms. so the bar must remain high.
Pick made the comments during the analysts' call. Morgan Stanley about 0.5% lower. The New York Yankees are in advanced talks to raise nearly $3 billion of financing from Apollo Global Management. A deal would mark the biggest investment Apollo has made in U.S. sports as they seek to specialize in lending long-term strategic capital to sports leagues and clubs. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morrison. This is Bloomberg.